The lawyer's office was suffocatingly quiet. Polished mahogany reflected the gray Austin sky. My father, a man who built an empire from iron and discipline, was gone. I, Everett Thorne, sat across from his attorney, a man I'd known for 30 years, and felt nothing but a cold, final click. Everett, as you know, your father managed his own finances separately from the main Thorne holdings, the attorney said, shuffling a thick sheaf of papers. He was thorough. I nodded. Thorough was one word for it. Brutal was another. He was a man who believed affection was a weakness and work was the only prayer. He'd taught me discipline, and in doing so, left me a legacy that had already tripled my own net worth. In addition to the primary estate, which you already control, he continued, your father left a secondary portfolio, 3 ranches, a beachfront property, and significant investments. The current appraisal is approximately $17 million. I didn't react. It was just more. More paper, more properties, more management, another anchor. My late wife, Eliza, had always said my father gave me everything except what I needed. Seeing this new pile of assets land on my desk, I knew she was right. It all passes to you, Everett, sole beneficiary. Understood, I said, my voice flat. Send the documents to my office. I'll have my people integrate them. I stood up, adjusting my suit jacket. The meeting was over. The number, 17 million, meant nothing to me. It was just a complication I didn't need. As I walked to my car, I felt the first drops of a cold Texas rain. I should have been thinking about logistics, about trusts, about taxes. Instead, I was thinking about my son. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I let myself into the heavy oak door of my home. It was silent, too silent. Eliza's warmth had left this house 10 years ago, and it never truly returned. Dad? My son Mitchell came out of the study. He's 33, a lawyer, married for 5 years to Valerie. He wore a suit, but it looked rented on him, ill-fitting. He had my height, but none of my presence. Mitchell. He gave me an awkward, one-armed hug. How did it go? Was it okay? It was a reading of a will, son. It was efficient. From behind him, Valerie emerged. She was all sharp angles and sharper eyes. A woman who looked at the world as if it were a buffet she hadn't been invited to. Everett, we're so sorry for your loss, she said, her voice a perfect, smooth performance of sympathy. Thank you, Valerie. Her eyes weren't on me. They were scanning the room, the paintings, the antique desk, the Persian rug. It wasn't the look of a guest. It was the look of an appraiser. This house is just magnificent, she murmured, trailing a finger along the spine of a leather-bound book. So much history. It's my home, I said, moving past them toward the bar, where I lived with Eliza, where I raised Mitchell. Of course, Mitchell said quickly. We wanted to be here for you, to support you. I appreciate that. I'm tired. I'm going to turn in early. Dad, Mitchell started, if there's anything with the estate, legal stuff, I can help. I have Reese for that, Mitchell. But thank you. Valerie's smile was tight. He just wants to help, Everett. That's what family is for. I poured a short glass of whiskey and looked at them, my son shuffling his feet, and his wife, who watched me with an unnerving, calculating stillness. Good night, I said, and walked up the stairs, the ice clinking in my glass. Sleep didn't come. At 2 a.m. I was pacing the upstairs hall, the house dark and cold. I passed the guest room where they were staying, A sliver of light was on, and I heard voices. Valerie's. Hushed, but sharp, like a razor. 17 million, Mitch. On top of everything else. This isn't just comfortable, this is generational. I know, Val, I know. But it's his. Mitchell's voice was a weak counterpoint. It's ours, she hissed. Or it should be. Do you know what our credit card debt is? Do you know what we owe? That construction loan is about to default. We are drowning. We can ask him for another loan. A loan? Are you kidding me? We're his family. He's grieving. He's overwhelmed. He doesn't need $17 million more of stress. He needs to be taken care of. There was a pause. I leaned closer to the door, my blood turning to ice. What are you saying? Mitchell asked. I'm saying, Valerie said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, that he's an old man who just lost his father. He's vulnerable. He needs help. He needs his son, his lawyer son, to step in and manage things for him. We just need to convince him to give you control, to sign the papers. Then we can manage things. We can get liquid. We can solve our problems. Valerie, that's talking about a power of attorney. He'll never go for it. He will if we play it right, she snapped. He's tired. He's alone. We just have to be the concerned, loving family. We'll help him. We'll help him right out of his assets. I backed away from the door, my hands shaking, not with fear, with a rage so cold and pure it burned. They weren't here to support me. They were here to circle. This wasn't a family. It was a wolf pack, and they saw me as the wounded stag. The sun wasn't even up when I made the call. Reese, it's Everett. Everett, it's 5 a.m. Is everything all right? Reese had been my lawyer and my friend for 40 years. He was the only man I trusted besides myself. No, everything is not all right. I need you at my office. Now. I'm on my way. An hour later, we were in my study, the door locked. I poured him a coffee and told him. I repeated every word I'd heard. Reese listened, his face hardening, his steeple-fingered hands still. When I finished, he was silent for a full minute. The arrogance, he finally said, his voice a low growl. To plot this under your own roof. They're deep in debt, Reese. Desperate. Valerie is driving, but Mitchell is in the passenger seat with the map. They see this inheritance as a solution. So what do? We cut them off. I draft a new will, disinherit Mitchell, and we get a restraining order. We expose them. I shook my head, standing to look out the window at the rising sun. No, that's too clean, too fast. They'll claim it was a misunderstanding. They'll play the victims. Dad was grieving. He wasn't thinking straight. No. Reese looked at me. What are you proposing, Everett? This is a dangerous game. I'm not proposing a game, I said, turning back to him. I'm proposing a hunt. They think I'm weak, vulnerable, and stupid. I want to let them believe it. I want to give them the rope. You want to let them try. I want to let them hang themselves. I don't just want to stop them, Reese. I want to document every single step of their conspiracy. I want irrefutable, undeniable, legally admissible proof. I need to know exactly who my son has become. And when I have that proof, I want to destroy them with it. Reese took a slow sip of his coffee. A small, cold smile touched his lips. All right, Everett. You want to set a trap. Let's build a cage. That evening, I set the first piece of bait. I found Mitchell and Valerie in the kitchen, pretending to read the paper. I was slumped, my shoulders rounded. I hadn't shaved. Dad? You okay? You look exhausted, Mitchell said, his concern laid on thick. I rubbed my face, feigning a deep, weary sigh. It's just so much. Your grandfather's lawyers just sent over the files for the new properties. It's overwhelming. Ranches, investments, tax liabilities. I don't even know where to begin. I let the words hang in the air. Valerie put down her coffee cup. Her eyes lit up, a flicker of predatory interest she couldn't quite hide. Everett, that's exactly what we were talking about, she said, her voice dripping with manufactured empathy. You shouldn't have to handle this all alone. Not now. Mitch is a lawyer, Dad, she continued, placing a hand on his arm. He understands this world. We can help you. We want to help you. I don't know, I said, playing the part of the hesitant, grieving old man. It's a lot to ask. It's not asking, Mitchell said, stepping in, his confidence clearly bolstered by his wife. It's family. Let us take a look at the paperwork. We can organize it at least. Give you a summary. No strings. Just help. I looked from my son to his wife. Their faces were perfect masks of loving concern. Maybe just for a few days, I said. To get it organized. I would appreciate that. Of course, Dad, Mitchell said, smiling. That's what we're here for. As I walked away, I heard Valerie whisper to him, It's working. He's taking the bait. I went to my study and poured a drink. They were the ones taking the bait, and they were swallowing it whole. They were fast. I'll give them that. 3 days later, they called what they termed a formal meeting. We sat in my study. Mitchell, in his best suit, held a leather-bound portfolio. Valerie sat beside him, a notepad in her lap, the picture of a professional assistant. Dad, we've gone through everything, Mitchell began, his voice taking on a new, practiced authority. And frankly, it's more complex than we thought. The ranches have operational costs. The investments are in volatile markets. It needs active daily management. I see, I said, keeping my face neutral. Which is why, he continued, I've drafted a proposal. He slid a stack of documents across my desk. I didn't need to read the title to know what it was. This is a broad power of attorney, Mitchell explained, before I could speak. It's a standard legal instrument. It just authorizes me to act on your behalf, sign documents, make transactions, handle the day-to-day administration. It's all designed to protect you. Protect me? From the stress, Dad, Valerie chimed in, her smile unwavering. You should be grieving, not worrying about cattle futures or property taxes. This lets Mitchell handle all the administration, so you don't have to. I picked up the document. It was thorough. It wasn't just administration. It gave him the power to buy, sell, and transfer assets. He could liquidate everything without a second signature. This is a lot of power, Mitchell, I said, letting a note of hesitation enter my voice. It's the power I need to do the job right, Dad, he said smoothly. If I have to come to you for every little decision, it's not efficient. It just lets me take care of you. You maintain ownership, obviously. I just manage. I looked at my son, so earnest in his deception, and his wife, watching me like a hawk. You've put a lot of work into this, I said. We just want what's best for you, Everett, Valerie said. The trap was laid. Now I just needed to let it snap shut. I held the stack of papers in my hand. I could feel their anticipation. They were leaning forward, ready for me to sign, ready to take the keys to the kingdom. I put the papers down on the desk. This is a big step, Mitchell, I said slowly. A very big step. Their smiles faltered. Dad, it's standard. Mitchell started. I know. But this isn't some corporate account. This is your grandfather's legacy. This is $17 million. I paused, looking him dead in the eye. It's not that I don't trust you, son. It's just, well, it's just good business. What do you mean? Valerie asked, her voice a little sharper. I mean, I need my own people to look at this. I'll have Arthur review these documents. Arthur was my accountant, a man so meticulous he ironed his socks. Mitchell's face tightened. Dad, I am a lawyer. These documents are perfect. Having Arthur, it's redundant, it's an insult. It's my condition, I said, my voice firm. Arthur reviews them, or there's no deal. It's not personal, it's procedure. Valerie saw him tensing and quickly intervened, placing a hand on his arm. Her smile was back, but it was made of plastic. Everett, of course. You're absolutely right. We want you to be 100% comfortable. Have Arthur review everything. Take all the time you need. But I saw her eyes. She was furious. Every day I stalled was a day they couldn't get their hands on the money. Good, I said, stacking the papers neatly. I'll call him tomorrow. Thank you both for this meeting. You've given me a lot to think about. They left the study, their shoulders a little tighter than when they'd walked in. The moment the door clicked shut, I picked up the phone. Reese? It's time for phase 2. I need the surveillance. You're sure about this, Everett? Reese asked. His security team, 2 men in quiet gray suits, were sweeping my study. I'm sure, I said. I want to hear every word. I want to see their faces when they think they're winning. It's your property, so it's legal, Reese said. One-party consent, and you're the party. The team was efficient. A pinhole camera in a bookshelf speaker, another hidden in a non-functioning smoke detector, a high-gain microphone under the lip of the desk. Within an hour, my study was a recording studio, and the feeds were being piped directly to a secure server in Reese's office. It's done, the technician said. You're live. Reese and his team left. I waited. That night, I called Mitchell. Son, I've been thinking. I'm not ready to sign the full power of attorney. It's just too much. I heard a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Dad, we talked about this. But I cut him off. I'm willing to discuss let's call it a trial period. You can help me with the organization, under my supervision. We can see how it goes. A long pause. A trial period? Like an internship? His voice was laced with offense. Like a precaution, Mitchell. My study. Tomorrow at 10. We can discuss the terms. I hung up. I sat in the dark, watching the 2 small, unblinking red lights on the secure monitor. The trap was set. Now I just needed the rats to show up. Part 2. The Escalation. They arrived at 10 a.m. on the dot. Mitchell looked sullen. Valerie was vibrating with a tense, controlled anger. They sat in the 2 chairs opposite my desk. Every angle was covered by the cameras. Good morning, I said, keeping my voice mild. Thank you for coming. Dad, this trial period is insulting, Mitchell blurted out. Mitchell, I said, holding up a hand. It's not. It's prudent. Let's talk about the ranches. They're operational, they have staff, they have overhead. What are your thoughts on them? Mitchell shrugged. I don't know. Sell them? They seem like a hassle. Sell them? I feigned surprise. Just like that? They've been in the family for 50 years. This time, Valerie couldn't stop herself. She leaned forward, her eyes bright and intense. Everett, with all due respect, family doesn't pay the bills. Those ranches are underperforming assets. In this market, we could liquidate them and move the capital into something with a much higher, faster return. Faster return? I asked, leaning back. Like what? Like diversification, she said, catching herself. The point is, we need to be able to act fast. We can't be slowed down by sentimentality or by paperwork. I see, I said. So your management plan is to liquidate. It's to maximize value, she corrected me. But to do that, we need the freedom to make decisions, not a trial period. I understand your position perfectly, Valerie, I said. Thank you. This gives me a lot to consider. I stood up. The meeting was over. They looked confused, but they left. The moment the door closed, my phone buzzed. It was Reese. We got it, Everett. We got it all. Clear audio. Liquidate. Act fast. Can't be slowed down. Their intent is crystal clear. This is gold. I looked at the speaker grill on the shelf. Gold, I agreed. Now let's see what else they'll give us. I was in the kitchen making coffee that evening when I heard the front door open. I checked my phone. Mitchell and Valerie were supposed to be at dinner. I walked quietly to the hall. It was Valerie. Alone. Valerie? I thought you were out. She jumped, startled. Everett, I forgot my scarf. In the study. Go ahead. I watched her walk to the study. She didn't turn on the main light, just the small desk lamp. She wasn't looking for a scarf. I moved into the shadow of the doorway, watching. She stood in the middle of the room, perfectly still. Her head was tilted, as if listening. She scanned the bookshelves, slowly. Her eyes moved along the ceiling molding, then to the desk. She was hunting. Her gaze passed over the bookshelf speaker, then snapped back. She stepped closer. She tilted her head, looking at the grill from a different angle. She saw it. A tiny, circular reflection that wasn't supposed to be there. You bastard, she whispered. She moved fast. She grabbed a heavy brass letter opener from my desk. She didn't just pull the camera out. She jammed the letter opener into the speaker again and again, with a vicious, controlled fury. She ripped the grill off, tore the small device out, and threw it to the floor. Then she stomped on it, crushing the lens and the small memory card with her heel. She didn't stop there. She scanned the room again, a predator now fully alert. Her eyes went to the smoke detector. She dragged a chair over, climbed up, and ripped it from the ceiling. She tore it open, found the second camera, and crushed that one too. She stood in the middle of the room, breathing heavily, surrounded by the debris of my surveillance. Then she smoothed her hair, picked up the broken pieces, and walked out of the room. She saw me standing in the hall. Her face was pale, but her eyes were defiant. I found my scarf, she said, holding up nothing. She walked past me, grabbed her keys from the hall table, and left. The front door slammed shut behind her. My hands were balled into fists. She knew. The advantage was gone. My phone buzzed. It was Reese. Everett, the feeds are dead. Both of them. What happened? She found them, I said, my voice a low growl. I walked into the study, surveying the wreckage, the smashed speaker, the guts of the smoke detector on my desk. She found them, Reese. She's smart. More dangerous than I thought. She destroyed everything. The cameras, the local storage, everything. Damn it, Reese swore. We have the audio from the meeting. Liquidate. It's good, but it's not a smoking gun. A good lawyer could argue it was just an aggressive financial strategy. We don't have them admitting to why. I slammed my fist on the desk. She was hunting for them, Reese. She knew. She was suspicious from the start. This changes things, Everett. The game is over. She's alerted. We have to move on what we have. We confront them now. No, I shouted. No, that's what she wants. She thinks she won. She thinks she's cut out my eyes. She's going to get cocky, more aggressive. Or she's going to get smarter, Reese countered. She's going to stop talking. She's going to move to a different plan. We lost the initiative. Then we get it back, I said, pacing the room. She destroyed the evidence. She thinks I have nothing. She thinks I'm a weak old man who failed to trap her. Everett, what are you thinking? She destroyed my eyes. She didn't destroy my ears. Not yet. I was furious. But underneath the anger, a new, colder plan was forming. She'd forced me to escalate. And I would. A week passed. It was a week of unbearable, false politeness. Mitchell and Valerie acted as if nothing had happened. They were back to being the concerned family. They knew I couldn't prove what Valerie had done without admitting to the illegal in spirit, if not in letter recording. It was a stalemate. They were waiting for my next move, and I was waiting for an opening. It came in an unexpected form. On Tuesday, the mail arrived. Tucked inside a stack of financial journals was a plain, white envelope. No return address. My name and address were typed. I opened it with the same letter opener Valerie had used to destroy my camera. Inside was a single sheet of cheap printer paper. Typed. She won't stop. V is desperate. She's talking to a Dr. Orson about Plan B. She says you're losing it. She's going to try to put you away. Be careful. She'll ruin everyone, even her own. My blood ran cold. Plan B. Put you away. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about incompetence, guardianship. They weren't just trying to rob me. They were trying to erase me. I looked at the last line. She'll ruin everyone, even her own. This wasn't from a friend. This was from someone who knew Valerie, someone who was afraid of her. Reese, I said, dialing his number. We have a new problem and a new name, Dr. Orson. I read him the note. My God, Everett, Reese said. Guardianship. That's the nuclear option. If they get a judge to declare you incompetent, they don't need your signature. They get control of everything. The trust, the will. None of it matters if you're not legally sane. She's escalating, I said, the note trembling in my hand, and she's found a doctor to help her. Who sent this? I don't know, but they just gave us our next target. Find out everything you can about this Dr. Orson, and find out now. The destroyed cameras and the anonymous note had changed the equation. The study was no longer a safe place to gather evidence. They were on guard. They wouldn't speak freely in my house again. But they had to speak somewhere. The car, I said to Reese over the phone. What car? The one I loaned Mitchell 2 years ago. The black sedan. He never transferred the title. It's still registered in my name. A long silence. Everett. That's a legal gray area. Is it my property? Yes, technically. And does Texas one-party consent apply if I am the owner of the vehicle, consenting to a recording on my own property? I could hear Reese smiling. A good lawyer could argue it all day. A great lawyer could win it. It's a risk, a big one. If a judge tosses the evidence, we have nothing. It's a risk I'm willing to take, I said. She forced my hand. She smashed my cameras. She's conspiring with a corrupt doctor to have me committed. The time for subtle traps is over. Get me the best audio recorder you can find. Something military grade. Something they'll never see. 2 hours later, a courier delivered a small, matte black box to my office. It was no bigger than a pack of gum, with a powerful magnet and a voice-activated, high-gain microphone. That night, I waited until 3 a.m. I walked out into the cold, damp air, my footsteps silent on the driveway. I found the sedan. My hands were steady. I reached under the passenger seat, felt the metal frame, and clicked the device into place. It was invisible. I stepped back. "Talk, Valerie," I whispered into the night. "Tell me everything." I gave it 2 days. 2 days of agonizing, polite dinners and empty conversations. 2 days of knowing that device was sitting under her, listening. On the third night, I saw them leave for dinner. They were dressed up. Valerie looked triumphant. I waited. When they returned at 11 p.m., I watched from my window as they got out of the car. Valerie was visibly angry, gesturing wildly. Mitchell was placating. They went inside. I gave them an hour. Then I went out. I retrieved the device, my heart pounding in my chest. I went to my study, locked the door, and plugged the recorder into my computer. I put on my headphones. At first, it was just road noise. Then, their voices, clear as a bell. "Can't believe he said no to the trial period. Insulting. He's stalling, Mitch." Valerie's voice. "What do you want me to do, Val?" I pushed. "He's not budging." Mitchell's whine. "Then we're done playing nice," she snarled. "This is taking too long. We go to Plan B, the incompetence angle, the one we talked about." There it was. "Valerie, that's extreme," Mitchell stammered. "Extreme? You know what's extreme? Living on fumes while he sits on a fortune. You know what's extreme? Our debt. I'm not waiting for him to die of old age. I've already primed Dr. Orson. He's willing to play ball. He said a few evaluations, a few cognitive tests. He can build a case." "Build a case? You mean fabricate a case?" "I don't care what you call it," she shouted. "We get him evaluated. We get him declared unfit. We get guardianship. We get everything, Mitchell. We get him neutralized, and we take it all. Are you with me or not?" A long, terrible silence. Just the sound of the car's engine. Finally, Mitchell's voice. Small, defeated. "Okay, all right. I'll research the process. Guardianship." "Good," she said, her voice turning smooth again. "Because I need a husband who can secure our future, not a boy who begs his father. Now, let's go inside and be the loving family." I took off the headphones, my hands shaking with a white-hot fury. It was all there. The conspiracy, the fraud, the name of the doctor, the explicit plan. "Neutralized," I whispered. They weren't just coming for my money. They were coming for my life. "Send it to me now." Reese's voice was grim when I called him, well past midnight. I encrypted the file and sent it. I waited, pacing my study, the adrenaline making me feel sick. 5 minutes later, he called back. His voice was different. It was the voice of a man loading a weapon. "This is it, Everett. This is the smoking gun. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Fabricate a case. Dr. Orson, this is a criminal indictment." "They're trying to have me committed, Reese," I said, my voice hoarse. "To have me locked away." "Then we build the fortress," Reese said, his voice hard. "We're done being defensive. We're done setting traps. Now, we build a wall so high they can't climb it, and we arm it with cannons." "What do you mean?" "I mean an irrevocable trust. We create it tomorrow. We draft it so that any legal action taken against you, specifically any attempt to file for guardianship or declare you incompetent, triggers an automatic and permanent clause. What clause? The disinheritance clause. The moment Mitchell or Valerie file a single piece of paper with the court challenging your mental capacity, they are immediately and irrevocably disinherited. Not just from the new inheritance, from everything. Your entire estate. It all goes to the foundations you set up in Eliza's name. I stopped pacing. So, if they pull the trigger, the bullet hits them. They'll be filing a motion that legally bankrupts them. They'll be paying a lawyer to make themselves poor. It's beautiful, Everett. It's ironclad. And it's the last piece of protection we need before you do whatever it is you're planning to do next. Good, I said. Draft it. I'll be in your office at 9 a.m. to sign it. And Everett, what are you planning to do next? I looked at the smashed speaker on my desk. They want to play incompetent, Reese? Fine. Let's give them the performance of a lifetime. Part 3. The trap is sprung. The next phase of the plan began. I signed the irrevocable trust. The fortress was built. Now I had to lure the enemy to the gate. I started small. I called Mitchell. Son, I'm at the grocery store. I can't find my car. I don't remember where I parked. Dad, are you okay? Just hit the panic button on your remote. Oh, right, I forgot. I was, of course, sitting in my study. 2 days later, I called him again. Mitchell, I need you to look at this tax form. I've read it 3 times. The numbers, they're not making sense. I'm confused. Dad, that's a standard 1099. We've been over this. Just send it to Arthur. Arthur? Right. Arthur, I forgot his name for a second. I let the seeds of doubt grow. I knew they were talking. I knew Valerie was building her case. The final piece of the performance was with my executive assistant, Sylvia. She's been with me for 25 years and has the loyalty of a Praetorian Guard. I told her everything. She was horrified. And then she was furious. That vulture, she hissed. What do you need me to do, Everett? I need you to be a terrible assistant, I said. I need you to be worried about me. The next day, Valerie called the office, as I knew she would. Sylvia put her on speakerphone, the call recording. Sylvia, hi, it's Valerie. I'm just calling to check on Everett. He seemed a little off lately, confused. Have you noticed anything? Sylvia played her part perfectly. Oh, thank God you called, she said, her voice a perfect imitation of worried professionalism. Now that you mention it, yes, he's been erratic. He missed the quarterly budget meeting. He keeps asking me the same questions. Honestly, I'm very concerned about him. I am too, Sylvia, I am too. Thank you for telling me. We're looking into getting him some help. When Sylvia hung up, she looked at me. They're monsters, Everett. Yes, I said. And monsters need to be caged. They took the bait. They took it faster and harder than I could have hoped. My doorbell rang on Thursday afternoon. I was expecting them. I opened the door. Mitchell and Valerie stood on the porch. They were not alone. A man in a cheap suit stood with them, carrying a worn leather briefcase. He had a face like a collapsed tent and nervous, watery eyes. Dad, Mitchell said, his voice heavy with false gravity. Can we come in? We need to talk. Mitchell, Valerie, and... This is Dr. Orson, Mitchell said. He's a colleague. He's just here to talk with you. Dr. Orson, the name from the note. The doctor from the recording. I'm fine, Mitchell. I don't need to talk to anyone. Dad, please, Mitchell said, pushing his way inside. Valerie and Orson followed. We're worried about you, Sylvia's worried. You're forgetting things. You're confused. We brought Dr. Orson just for a simple evaluation. An evaluation? I said, letting anger and confusion color my voice. I don't need an evaluation. Get out! Everett, Valerie said, stepping in front of Mitchell. Her voice was calm, condescending, the voice you use for a child or a madman. We are not leaving. This is for your own good. Dr. Orson is just here to ask a few questions, to make sure you're okay. And if I refuse? Dad, don't make this difficult, Mitchell pleaded. If you're fine, as you say, then there's no problem. Just answer his questions. But we can't, in good conscience, do nothing. The trap was sprung. They were in my house with their paid-for doctor, ready to build their false case. And my new cameras, better hidden, installed by a different ex-Mossad team Reese had found, were rolling. All right, I said, slumping into my chair in the study. Fine. Ask your questions. Get it over with. Dr. Orson sat opposite me, opening his briefcase. Valerie and Mitchell stood in the corner, like concerned parents. The camera in the new digital picture frame had a perfect view of all of them. Mr. Thorne, Orson began, his voice a reedy, unconvincing monotone. Just a few simple questions. What is today's date? It's March. No, April 10th, I said, pretending to be unsure. It was the 14th. And the year? It's 2024, I said. It was 2025. I saw Valerie and Mitchell exchange a significant C glance. Can you count backward from 100 by sevens? I started. 100, 93, 80, 86, 78. I purposefully messed up. 71, 63. No, I've lost my place. I was feeding them exactly what they wanted. I was the confused, deteriorating old man. That's all right, Mr. Thorne, Orson said, making notes. Now I'm going to give you 3 words. I want you to remember them. Apple, table, penny. Can you repeat those? Apple, table, penny. Good. We'll come back to those. He asked me a few more inane questions. Who was the president? What city were we in, then? Mr. Thorne, do you remember those 3 words I gave you? I looked at him, my face a mask of confusion. What words? Dr. Orson clicked his pen. He looked at Mitchell and Valerie with a grave expression. I see. Mr. Thorne, I think that's enough for today. He closed his notebook. Well, Doctor? Valerie asked, stepping forward. Orson cleared his throat. Based on this preliminary evaluation, Mr. Thorne, I do see some concerning signs, significant cognitive impairment, memory lapses, disorientation. So what do you recommend, Doctor? Mitchell asked. I recommend a full neurological workup, but in the immediate future, I would strongly suggest he not be in a position to make complex financial decisions. It would be wise to consider a supervised management of his affairs. There it was, the medical justification. A guardian? Valerie asked, her voice sharp. That is the legal term, yes, Orson said. Someone to protect his interests. His son, for example. Thank you, Doctor, Valerie said. You've been very helpful. After they ushered him out, they came back to the study. Dad, Mitchell said, you heard the doctor. This is serious. We need to take action. I need to think, I said, burying my face in my hands. Just leave me alone. I need to think. They left. I heard the front door close. I sat up, my face clear. I looked directly at the digital picture frame. Reese, I said to my phone, we've got them. We've got the whole conspiracy on video, medical fraud, everything. It's beautiful, Everett, Reese's voice came back. It's all downloading. We have the car audio. We have the doctor. We have the in-person conspiracy. The case is ironclad. Good. Now we end it. I waited one more day. One day for them to file the paperwork. One day for them to celebrate their victory. Then I made the final call. Mitchell. Dad? Are you okay? I've been so worried. His voice was a masterpiece of fake concern. I've been thinking, son. You were right. Dr. Orson was right. I'm not up to this. I'm not well. I heard a sharp, stifled sound on the other end. A gasp. He was trying to contain his excitement. Dad, I'm so glad you're seeing this. We're just trying to protect you. I know, I said, letting my voice sound weak, defeated. I'm ready to sign the papers. The power of attorney. The full one, just let's get it done. A beat of silence. He was stunned. He'd been prepared for a fight, not a surrender. Seriously, Dad? He stammered. That's wonderful. That's the right decision. You won't regret this. I hope not. Come to the house. Tonight, 6 o'clock. Bring the documents. We'll sign everything. Make it official. We'll be there, Dad, 6 o'clock. And thank you for trusting me. I'm your father, Mitchell. Who else would I trust? I hung up the phone. I stood up and straightened my tie. I looked at the hidden camera in the picture frame. Reese, I said, 6 o'clock, bring the team, and bring the police. At 5:30 p.m., Reese arrived. He wasn't alone. He had 2 other lawyers from his firm, both with faces like stone, and a notary public who looked like she'd seen it all. The team is set up, Reese said, opening his briefcase. The irrevocable trust is filed and registered as of this morning. All the evidence, the audio, the video from the exam, it's all authenticated and copied. And the other guests? An Austin PD detective is waiting in a car down the street. He's heard the recordings. He has the arrest warrants. He's just waiting for your call. Good. I went to the bar and poured myself a glass of water. My hand was perfectly steady. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just finished. At 6 p.m. on the dot, the doorbell rang. I opened it. Mitchell and Valerie stood there, beaming. They held the leather portfolio with the documents. They looked like they were on their way to a celebration. Dad, Mitchell said, giving me a hug that felt like a snake coiling. I'm so glad you're doing this. Everett, you look better already, Valerie said, squeezing my arm. The relief, I'm sure. Come in, I said. I have some people here to witness the signing, to make sure it's all official. I led them toward the study. The moment they stepped through the door and saw Reese, his team, and the notary, they froze. Valerie's smile evaporated. Mitchell's face went white. Dad, what is this? Mitchell asked, his voice suddenly tight and high. Who are these people? These, I said, walking behind my desk, are my lawyers. Please sit down. We have a lot to discuss. They didn't move. Sit down, I ordered. They sat, rigid and nervous, in the 2 chairs opposite me. The same 2 chairs they'd sat in for the fake exam. The same camera was rolling. I let the silence stretch out. I watched them. Valerie's eyes were darting around the room, no longer appraising, but searching. For what? An escape? An explanation? Mitchell just stared at me, his mouth slightly open, a look of dawning, sickening realization on his face. Dad, I don't understand, Mitchell stammered. We're here to sign the papers. We are, I said, my voice calm and cold. But before we do, I have a few recordings I'd like to play for you, just to Clear the air. I nodded to Reese. He tapped a key on his laptop, which was connected to the high-end speakers on my bookshelf, the ones Valerie hadn't smashed. And then, her voice filled the room. We go to Plan B, the incompetence angle. I've already primed Dr. Orson. He's willing to play ball. Valerie let out a choked sound, half scream, half gasp. Mitchell looked like he'd been shot. We get him evaluated. We get him declared unfit. We get guardianship. We get everything. We get him neutralized, and we take it all. I watched Valerie's face. The color drained from it, replaced by a blotchy, terrified rage. "You can't!" she shrieked, jumping to her feet. "You can't record us! That's illegal! You can't use that! We'll sue you!" Reese stood up slowly, a predator uncoiling. He looked at Valerie with a mixture of pity and contempt. "Ms. Thorne," he said, his voice cutting through her panic. "One, that recording was made on my client's property, a car legally registered to him. In Texas, that is one-party consent. My client is the party. It is 100% admissible in a Texas court." Valerie's mouth snapped shut. "Two," Reese continued, "you have the right to remain silent, and I strongly advise you to do so." Mitchell just sat there, shaking, his head in his hands. "Oh my God. Oh my God." "I'm not finished," I said. I nodded to Reese again. He tapped another key. The large television screen on the wall flickered to life. It was the video from the exam. We watched in high definition as Dr. Orson fed me the questions. We watched me fail. We watched Mitchell and Valerie in the corner, nodding along, their faces a mask of fake concern. We watched the final, damning recommendation. Strongly suggest he not be in a position to make complex financial decisions. It would be wise to consider supervised management. Medical fraud, Reese said conversationally. Conspiracy, attempted theft. It's a beautiful, multi-layered case. The DA is going to love it. "No," Mitchell whispered, tears now streaming down his face. Dad, please, we were worried." "Worried," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "You were worried about your debts, Mitchell. You were worried this fortune would slip through your fingers. You weren't worried about me. You were conspiring to have me declared incompetent, to neutralize me, to lock me away and steal my life." Valerie found her voice again, but it was different. It was the shriek of a cornered animal. "You set us up!" she screamed at me. You faked it! The confusion, the missed appointments, you faked it all! You entrapped us!" "I gave you a choice," I shot back, standing up. "You could have been a son. You could have been a daughter. You chose to be thieves. I just gave you the opportunity to show me who you really were. And you did. This Dr. Orson, he's the one," Mitchell stammered, looking for any way out. "It was his idea. He's the expert." "Dr. Orson?" I said, smiling a cold, thin smile. "Yes, about him." I looked at Reese. "Dr. Orson was detained for questioning by the district attorney's office an hour ago," Reese said, checking his watch. "Faced with the video evidence and the audio from your car, he sang like a canary." Reese picked up a paper from his briefcase. "He gave a full sworn confession. Admitted you, Valerie, contacted him first. Admitted you, Mitchell, paid him $5,000 in cash to find cognitive impairment. He's confirmed the entire conspiracy. He's being arrested as we speak." Mitchell made a low, wounded sound and physically collapsed, sliding from the chair to his knees on the floor, sobbing. Valerie just stared, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. She had nothing left. No lies, no manipulations, just the raw, ugly truth. "It's over," I said, looking down at my son, who was weeping on my expensive rug. "Dad, please don't do this," he begged, crawling toward me. "Please, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was Valerie. She pushed me." "Stand up, Mitchell," I roared. "Stand up and face what you did. You're a 33-year-old man. She didn't make you do anything. You chose. You chose her. You chose the money. And you chose to betray me." Valerie lunged. She didn't lunge at me. She lunged at Mitchell. "You weak, pathetic!" she screamed, her hands clawing for his face. Reese's lawyers, anticipating this, moved in. They grabbed her arms, restraining her. She fought, spitting and cursing, a wild animal. "You ruined everything!" she screamed at Mitchell. "It was perfect." In the middle of her screaming, the doorbell rang. A calm, polite chime. I walked past the chaos, past my sobbing son and my thrashing, screaming daughter-in-law. I opened the front door. The detective was there, flanked by a uniformed officer. "Mr. Thorne, we're here in response to a call." "Detective," I said, stepping aside. "They're in the study. I believe you have warrants for a Mitchell and a Valerie Thorne." "Yes, sir." The officers walked in. The scene in the study stopped. The screaming, the crying. It all froze. "Mitchell Thorne?" "Valerie Thorne," the detective said, his voice booming in the suddenly silent room. "You are both under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft, and solicitation of medical fraud." He cuffed Mitchell first, pulling him to his feet. My son didn't resist. He was limp. Valerie was next. She was silent, her face pale, her eyes burning into me. You will regret this," she whispered as they led her past me. "No," I said, meeting her gaze. "You will." I watched them being put into the back of the police car. My son, my only child, and I felt nothing. Just the cold, clean click of a machine that had finally, perfectly done its job. Part 4. The Reckoning. 6 months later, I sat on a hard wooden bench in the Travis County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed. The story of the Thorne betrayal had become a local sensation. A rich father, a greedy son, a manipulative wife. It was a story as old as time. Reese sat beside me, his briefcase on his lap. "Are you ready for this, Everett?" he asked quietly. "I just want it to be over, Reese." Mitchell and Valerie sat at the defense table. They looked different. Prison-issue jumpsuits had replaced their designer clothes. Valerie was thin, her face hard and bitter. Mitchell looked broken. He was pale, thinner, and he wouldn't look at me. The trial was a formality. The district attorney was methodical, brutal. He played the car recording first. The entire courtroom heard Valerie's voice. "We get him neutralized, and we take it all." A ripple of shock went through the gallery. Then, the video of the phony exam. The jury watched, transfixed, as Dr. Orson, who had taken a plea deal, testified. He explained, in humiliating detail, how Valerie had coached him, how Mitchell had paid him, how the entire evaluation was a performance designed to defraud the court. "And you did this," the prosecutor thundered, "knowing Mr. Thorne was of sound mind?" "Yes," Orson whispered, his career in ashes. They assured me he was a difficult man, that it was for his own good. But yes, I knew. The evidence was overwhelming. It was a public execution. On the third day, it was Mitchell's turn to testify. His lawyer stood up to call him. But Mitchell shook his head. He stood up slowly, his hands cuffed in front of him. "Your Honor, can I speak?" His lawyer hissed. "Mitchell, sit down! Don't say anything!" "No," Mitchell said, his voice cracking, but loud enough for the room to hear. "I don't want to testify. I want to change my plea." The courtroom went dead silent. "Mr. Thorne?" the judge asked, peering over his glasses. "I want to change my plea," Mitchell said, louder now. He turned and, for the first time, he looked at me. His eyes were red, but they were clear. "I plead guilty, Your Honor, to all charges." His lawyer dropped his head into his hands. Valerie's head snapped around, her face a mask of disbelief and rage. "I did it," Mitchell said, his voice breaking. "I did all of it. I conspired against my father. I bribed a doctor. I tried to steal from him. It's all true. I'm guilty, and I'm sorry, Dad. God, I'm so sorry." He collapsed into his chair, sobbing, his entire body shaking. The judge stared at him for a long moment. "Mr. Thorne, your plea is noted." Valerie's defense was something else. She took the stand the next day, composed, cold, and defiant. "You're painting me as some kind of monster," she said to the prosecutor, her voice dripping with indignation. "But I was a victim too." "A victim, Miss Thorne?" "Yes, a victim of Mitchell's weakness, and a victim of his father's," she said, pointing a finger at me. "Everett entrapped us. He faked being sick. He lured us in. What kind of loving father does that? The kind who heard his son and daughter-in-law plotting to neutralize him." The prosecutor shot back. That recording," she sneered. "That was just talk. Just fantasy. Mitchell was the one who handled everything. He paid the doctor. He brought the papers. I was just a supportive wife, manipulated by my husband." The prosecutor smiled. He cued the car recording again. "Are you with me or not?" Valerie's voice filled the room. "Because I need a husband who can secure our future, not a boy who begs his father." The prosecutor let the silence hang. "Does that sound like a supportive, manipulated wife to you, Ms. Thorne? Or does it sound like the architect of the entire plan?" Valerie's face contorted. "He's a weak man. I had to lead him. But it was his father, his inheritance." She had done it. She had confessed on the stand. Her own lawyer just sat down. There was nothing left to say. Sentencing was 2 days later. The room was even more full. The judge looked down at the two of them. "This court has seen many cases of family fraud," the judge said, his voice like gravel. "But rarely has it seen one so premeditated, so cold, and so utterly lacking in basic human decency." He looked at Mitchell. "Mr. Thorne, your actions were despicable. You betrayed the man who raised you. However, you took responsibility. Your guilty plea and your clear remorse have been taken into account. The court sentences you to 3 years in a state facility. You will be eligible for parole in 18 months. Mitchell nodded, tears streaming down his face. He seemed relieved. Then the judge turned to Valerie. "Miss Thorne, you, on the other hand, have shown no remorse. You have lied on the stand. You have blamed your husband. You have blamed the victim. The evidence is clear that you were not just a participant, but the primary instigator of this entire criminal conspiracy. You show no understanding of the gravity of your actions. This court sentences you to 5 years in a state facility. You will not be eligible for parole for 3 years." "No!" Valerie screamed, lunging forward. "It's not fair. He..." Bailiff, remove her, the judge said, banging his gavel. Valerie was dragged from the courtroom, screaming curses at me, at the judge, at Mitchell. Mitchell was led out in silence. He looked at me one last time. His face was a ruin, but he nodded, a small, final acknowledgement. It was over. I walked out of the courthouse into the bright Texas sun. Reporters swarmed me. Mr. Thorne, how do you feel? Mr. Thorne, was it worth it, seeing your own son go to prison? Reese pushed through them. No comment. He got me into the back of his car. As we pulled away, I watched the media circus on the steps. Was it worth it, Everett? Reese asked, once we were clear. I looked out the window. The victory felt like ash in my mouth. My son was in chains. My name was a scandal. He's still alive, Reese. He's not in debt. He's not with her. He's paying. Maybe this is the only way he could be saved. But I knew I couldn't just let it end there. The victory was hollow because it was just for me. Reese, I said, a new idea forming. I want to start a new foundation, in Eliza's name. Another one? A different one. I want to provide legal aid for victims of elder financial abuse, for parents betrayed by their children, for people who don't have the resources I did. I want to take this filth and build something clean with it. Reese looked at me. That's a worthy legacy, Everett. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't closure. But it was a purpose. And right now, that was enough. Part 5. The Redemption. The months dragged on. I threw myself into the new foundation. We funded our first cases. We took on con artists, greedy family members. We won. Every victory felt like a small, clean piece of a dirty puzzle. Then, the letters started. The first was from Valerie. It was 8 pages of handwritten venom. It was my fault. It was Mitchell's fault. It was the judge's fault. The system was corrupt. She was the victim. I read the first page and threw it in the fire. I told the prison to return any further mail from her, unread. A month later, a letter from Mitchell arrived. It was on cheap prison-issue paper. I left it on my desk for 3 days before I opened it. Dad. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I wanted you to know that I'm in a program here, a therapy group. For the first time, I'm actually talking about it, about the money, the pressure, about her, but mostly about me, about my weakness, how I let my greed and my weakness poison everything, how I betrayed the only person who ever truly supported me, you. I sit in a room with other men who did terrible things, and I'm just one of them. I'm not Mitchell Thorne. I'm just an inmate, a thief, a son who betrayed his father. I'm not asking you to write back. I needed to say it. I'm accountable. I did this, and I am sorry. Mitchell. I read it 3 times. There was no manipulation, no excuses. It was just the truth. I didn't write back, but I didn't throw it away. A week later, another envelope arrived. This one was typed, just like the first anonymous note. I opened it. Mr. Thorne, my name is Veronica. I am Valerie's mother. I am the one who sent you the note about Dr. Orson. I need you to know why. I have been terrified of my daughter for 10 years. She is not, well, she is a black hole. She consumes everyone around her. She bankrupted me. She destroyed her father's reputation. I watched her turn her sights on your son and on you. I overheard her on the phone with Dr. Orson. She was laughing. She said she'd have you in a home within a month. I didn't send you that note to save you, Mr. Thorne. I'm sorry to say it. I sent it to stop her. I knew if she succeeded, she would be unstoppable. And I knew if she was caught, she would finally be contained. In a place where she couldn't hurt anyone else. I was trying to stop her from ruining her life completely. I am so sorry for what she did to you and to your son. I am just sorry. Veronica. I put the letter down, the unexpected ally. It wasn't an ally at all. It was a mother who was so terrified of her own child, she'd helped send her to prison. It was a new, deeper layer of tragedy. It confirmed what I already knew. Mitchell was weak, but Valerie was a void. The letters from Mitchell kept coming. Once a month. They were short. They were about his therapy, about the classes he was taking, about the work he was doing in the prison library. He never asked for anything. After a year, I found myself driving north to the state facility. I didn't plan it. I just went. I sat in the visiting room, a gray, echoing chamber that smelled of bleach and despair. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. The prison-issue uniform hung on him. He was thin, but his eyes were clear. The weakness was gone. The arrogance was gone. In its place was a quiet, heavy stillness. He saw me and he stopped. He looked afraid. "Dad," he said, sitting down opposite me, the thick glass between us. "Mitchell." We just looked at each other. I never thought you'd come," he said, his voice thick. "Your letters," I said. They're different." "I'm different," he said. "Or I'm trying to be. Prison. It burns away all the bull. There's no one to impress here. There's no status. There's just who you are. And I was nothing, Dad. A greedy, weak, pathetic shell." "You're in therapy," I stated. "Every day. And I'm in AA. I wasn't just addicted to her. I was addicted to the idea of money, of the easy life. I thought it was my right. I thought you owed it to me." "I never owed you anything but a chance," I said. "I know that now," he whispered, pressing his hand to the glass. "I know that. I'm working, Dad. I'm trying to build something. Not for you. For me. To be a man I can live with." We talked for the full hour. Not about money, not about Valerie. We talked about his therapy, about the books he was reading. When the guard called time, I stood up. "Dad," he said, desperate. "Keep working, Mitchell," I said. "Just keep working." 18 months after he was sentenced, Mitchell was released on parole. I didn't go to pick him up. I didn't send a car. He had to earn this. Reese kept tabs on him for me. Mitchell moved into a tiny one-room apartment on the bad side of Austin. He took the bus. He had been disbarred. He couldn't practice law. He got a job as a paralegal, a legal researcher at a small two-man firm that handled DUIs and divorces. It was a humiliating fall. He reported to his parole officer. He took his drug tests. He went to his meetings. He never called me. He never asked for $1. He just worked. He was, for the first time in his life, on his own. 2 years. 2 full years after his release, my assistant told me Mr. Thorne was here to see me. "Send him in." He walked into my office. He wore a cheap suit, but it was clean and pressed. He looked like a man. He was 37 years old, but he looked older. He looked like he'd lived. "Dad," he said. He didn't offer to shake my hand. He just stood in front of my desk. "Mitchell, sit." I'd rather stand." He placed a small, folded envelope on my desk. "What's this?" It's, it's the last one. I opened it. It was a cashier's check for $10,000. I don't understand, I said. It's the money, he said, his voice quiet, steady. The $120,000 I borrowed from you over the years. Before everything. I've been paying it back. A little every month. This is the final payment. With interest. I stared at the check. $120,000 on a paralegal's salary. Living in a tiny apartment. He had paid it all back. It took 2 years, he said, his voice cracking just once. But I'm clear. I've paid my debt to you. The financial one, at least. I looked at the check, and then I looked at my son. He wasn't a thief. Not anymore. Sit down, Mitchell, I said. This time he sat. I picked up the phone and dialed Reese. Reese, I'm here with Mitchell. I need you to come to my office. We're modifying the trust. I heard Reese's sharp intake of breath. Everett, are you sure? After everything? I'm sure, I said, looking at my son, who was staring at his hands, his face pale. He hadn't expected this. He'd just come to clear his debt. We're modifying the trust, I said. Mitchell is to be reinstated. Dad. No, Mitchell said, looking up, his eyes wide. That's not why I came. I don't want the money. I don't deserve it. It's not about what you deserve, I said. It's about who you've become. You just spent 2 years in poverty to pay back a debt you thought I'd forgotten. That is the action of a man I can respect. The money is just a tool. I looked at him. We're not reinstating all of it. Not yet. We're starting with 20%. With conditions. Strict ones. You continue your therapy. You stay clean. You work. You prove this isn't a performance. And if you continue this path, I said, if you live this new life, then we can talk about more. But it has to be earned. Every single day. I understand, he whispered, tears rolling down his face. I understand. Thank you, Dad. Don't thank me, I said. You did this. You earned this. A month later, I asked Mitchell to meet me. Not at the office, not at my home. I met him at Eliza's grave. We stood there for a long time, the wind cold. I'm sorry, Mom, Mitchell whispered, touching the stone. I'm sorry I forgot what you taught me. She would have been so disappointed in you, I said, my voice thick. But I think she would have been proud of the man you are today. It never should have happened, he said. It was never about the inheritance, was it? Not for you. No, I said. It never was. It was about trust. It was about character. The money was just the weapon you chose to use against me. I know that now, he said. He looked at me, his eyes clear and steady. I know. And whatever happens with the trust, it doesn't matter. I'm glad I can look you in the eye again. I'm glad to have my father back. I put my hand on his shoulder. It was the first time I'd touched him in almost 5 years. Me too, son, I said. Me too. Our relationship wasn't what it was. It would never be. The old one, built on blind obligation and expectation, was dead. This new one was different. It was built on a brutal, terrible truth, on a betrayal and a reckoning. It was built on earned respect, and it was, for the first time, real. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.